The fact that people would rather pick teams than show true empathy to survivors of both physical and emotional abuse shows how we are the real losers of this case. Hi guys, your boy Buck says, back again for another video this week. Here we have the conversations that no one else, or the difficult conversations that no one else in society is having. And this one is a conversation that everyone is having, but they're not having it in a difficult way. They're having it in a very team-based, division-style way of putting Johnny Depp on this plinth and Amber Heard over here, right? And I feel very uncomfortable with that. Originally, before this trial began, I felt that Johnny Depp had been hard done by. I thought that he was one man suffering all the consequences for two people's terrible decisions, two people that are very flawed, insecure, in a very much codependent, toxic relationship that bring out the worst in each other. You can read all the details behind it online. I won't go into it here, but they very much do so. I think where I've become uncomfortable, at least in my interactions with other people in this case, was how pro Johnny Depp they are, really. I mean, there's always two sides to the story. There are two contributors. I think they both don't really deserve our time on this trial, but they're getting it, and here I am talking about it, so that may make me hypocritical in some senses. And why should you care about what I have to say? Well, I want to talk about it from a lens of young people, old people, all people, viewing it in 60-second sound bites, getting their information from social media, from TikTok, and also using their own perceived notions and bias to inform how they perceive relationships and healthy relationships. So that's what I want to talk about. Like I said, very much started very pro Johnny Depp, I'd argue. Very much that look. And I think in some ways, look, my own personal opinion on the overall thing, not that anyone cares, is that she most likely was, in the majority of the time, she was probably the instigator, and her therapist has said so. She probably has borderline PD. Very young as well, right? Look at the age difference between them. I think they started dating when they were 23. It's a very immature age, especially when you're with a 44-year-old man. So I think she knew exactly what to do to push his buttons. Was in a very different part of her life. And he reacted in an inexcusable way, which was domestic and physical abuse, which I can't understand why anyone is defending, really, because it's proven that he domestically abused her. And there's no excuse for that. So I want to make that very clear, that there's no excuse for that. That's nothing that I support or anyone else should support or anyone else should make an excuse for, just because she may be a bit crazy. You know, a lot of people are crazy. It doesn't mean that they deserve to get hit or doesn't mean that they deserve to get abused by it. You remove yourself from the situation, and that's easier said than done. But the point is, two very real people, one person suffering the consequences, but now it's gone the other way. It's back to that toxic cycle of wanting her to suffer, wanting her public image to suffer. Johnny Depp lost his respect in front of the world, his respect in front of his family, his legacy that he built up, and I'm sure he now wants to do the same to her. And I don't think it's probably the right approach, really. I think he could have very much focused on building back his own reputation without tearing her down. Maybe she deserved it, maybe she didn't. That's for other people to decide. But I think we're going to look back on this very much with shame, in the same way we looked back on how we made fun out of Britney Spears when she shaved her head. There was only one man that stood up for her. That was Craig Ferguson on Late Night, who said she may be going through some real terrible stuff. I see people talking about Amber Heard maybe taking cocaine, sniffing cocaine through a tissue. That's beside the point. If someone is doing that in public in a very real setting, they must be going through some real stuff. And the fact that we want to make TikToks about it and jokes about it, it doesn't sit well with me. And so years later, we find out Britney Spears is a conservatorship, and now everyone flips, because that's how fickle we are, right? People were pro Amber Heard, now they're anti Amber Heard. People were anti Johnny Depp, now they're pro Johnny Depp. It's, you know, we're consistently being marketed to, and we are the product. I think it spells a disaster for society, this case, for our own development in relationships, for how we perceive how a healthy relationship should look like. Not just in relationships. Look at this, man. Again, it comes back to that whole thing I talked about in the Joe Rogan video. We are consistently being forced and leveraged into picking a team. Conservative, Labour, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, vax, anti-vax. Democrat, Republican, it's non-stop, right? They are both wrong. There does not need to be, if you believe Amber Heard is right, Johnny Depp is automatically wrong. No, actually, they're both exceptionally toxic people who both contribute to the downfall of their relationship. And one person doing something wrong doesn't justify any wrong. And so they're both wrong. I find it really, really uncomfortable that in the culture where memes have become a driver for news.
My dog stepped on a bee. Objection, relevance.
We are now exposed to these 60-second funny soundbites like TikTok, where 14 to 16-year-olds are now consistently on a platform which denounces real relationship issues and makes physical abuse and domestic violence look funny.
Pedal my way back. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Aquaman!
Oh.
Whether it's to a man, whether it's to a woman, is very wrong, and it's a very visceral thing to go through. And I don't think it's very helpful that we denigrate this or demean the plight people go through by tearing them down, whether that's Amber Heard or Johnny Depp. You know, she looks visibly uncomfortable. There's clips of her crying, there's clips of her saying, I want to move on, I've had a son. And Johnny's maintaining this calm, you know, Western charm-based composure.
Yourself a mega pint of red wine, correct?
A mega pint.
Yeah.
I poured myself a large glass of wine.
Right.
I thought it necessary.
And I'm sure because he's come to peace with it and he's in his element now. I mean, this was on his terms. This is what he has prepared for. She thought it was all done and dusted, right? And just watching that, I don't really like Amber Heard. I think she is trouble. I think a lot of people that end up in that industry are very much trouble because it's an industry based on really being cutthroat and protecting your position at any time. You're always on your guard. You're always very defensive. And I'm sure you take that into a relationship. I don't like either of them, though. I definitely went into this more of a Johnny Depp fan. I think actually, if anything, this has gone the opposite way for me. I actually look down on him more for what he's doing. I think he couldn't let it lie. Whether she donated the money to charity, that's up to her. That's something she'll have to answer to God about. It's nothing to do with him. I think there's very much a jealousy from him of her going with Elon Musk, wanting to know who the father of her child is, very much not being able to let that codependency go. But the fact that we as society consistently judge people on their worst moments. Let me ask you as an audience. Everyone in the audience, you, yes, that's right, you. If someone took your worst 60 seconds of your life and played it back for a courtroom or for the world to hear, put some funny music on it and had someone ad-libbing what they thought on it, how do you think you'd feel? Would you want to answer for the worst things you've done? How you've treated your family, your friends, your partner? Would you want to? It doesn't allow for development, does it? Who they were then is not who they're going to be now, right? It's so, you know, this is all a ball game of he said, she said, and I want to be the victim. I want to be the bigger victim. We don't have the full picture. No one ever has the full picture in a relationship. If me and my wife went to trial right now, my wife would be sitting much like Amber Heard, like this. You know, there would be no sympathy in the court of public opinion for her, and she knows that, which is why I think she almost errs on the side of supporting her, because she knows that there are two sides to every story. And people, look, it comes back to this wider thing. People can't separate the man from the character. Jack Sparrow, a top movie character of all time. That doesn't mean that Johnny Depp isn't flawed and can't hit his wife or can't be abused or can't have control. He is a 44-year-old man going out with a 23-year-old woman, and there's a clear differential in power there. As much as you want to act like there's not, and she's conniving and manipulative, which I'm sure she is, which I'm sure men are, which I'm sure women are. It's not exclusive to her. Johnny Depp didn't remove himself from the situation. He liked that. He suffered from his own personal demons, and he also contributed to the downfall. I do not like either of them. I just do not understand why, if you are viewing this trial and you don't like her, why you must like him or why you must defend him. Why we feel so defensive about it. You know, Disney themselves, they didn't get rid of Johnny Depp because of Amber Heard or this. They got rid of him because he was showing up to set late, he was an alcoholic, and he had demons that there was a convenient excuse to get rid of him contractually. There are double standards. The way we are treating them, honestly, the way some of my family and friends are talking about Amber Heard, I don't see that same energy being put forward to your friends, your family, or your partners that sometimes exhibit very similar tendencies and aren't judged on their worst moments. I don't see the same level of culpability or onus that you're asking. Lots of people are putting Amber Heard on trial by TikTok, right? And it's all, she's wrong, she's this, she's manipulative, she's a witch. Well, it takes two to tango, and a lot of people don't know that because a lot of the people that are doing this are making assumptions on relationships so young that, you know, it gets lost in translation. Look, and let's go into the more serious parts. That's just stuff that affects us. The serious parts. How much ignorance and bias, systemic ignorance and bias, is this allowing us to seep into our system? There are some real people that suffer from domestic and physical abuse. Real people. What are we going to do now? When a woman accuses her partner of domestic and physical abuse, can he now sue his partner for defamation? It's going to enforce silence now from victims. How can we be okay with that? He has been abused, she has been abused. They should both suffer the consequences. She should not have the movie role in Aquaman. She should be removed from that entirely. They should both not be able to progress until they get help. They should not even be in a public setting being able to speak. These are two people that are in desperate need of help. But how are we allowing ourselves to scare people into submission now? Because that's what we're doing. Look at Evan Rachel Wood. Marilyn Manson is now suing her. Read about Evan Rachel Wood. I won't even tell you about it. Read about it. Does it allow Harvey Weinstein after Me Too to now sue all those women for defamation after Me Too? This whole thing is a cultural kickback against the Me Too movement, against cancel culture. People are annoyed that there's a culpability on their childhood heroes, right? In effect, right? There's culpability. The way we acted 20 years ago, the way we acted 10 years ago, the way we acted 5 years ago, the way we acted yesterday is not good enough. We should constantly be striving to do better. That's what this is about, right? Johnny Depp has done great things in his life. He has done some terrible things in his life. He is a flawed human being, as are all of we watching this video. We should strive to do better. But being engaged in a case like this and airing it in public gladiatorially is basically not allowing for any sort of positive change. It's not conducive to anything. What it is it's allowing yourself to stay in a victim position and allow yourself to basically leverage sympathy of the public to restore yourself to your former glory. Johnny Depp don't care about you, he cares about himself. He cares about his own legacy. And people are fickle. When he goes to a movie, when he gets into Pirates of the Caribbean 5, they'll be watching it. People watch Roman Polanski movies after he raped a 13-year-old girl. People stick up for lots of ignorant, idiotic people because it's where the wind blows, it's how fickle we are. But we need to realize that there's real problems in society, and I think we need to show more empathy and more sympathy to people suffering some very real issues. And just because one person suffers more doesn't mean we need to tear the other person down. This isn't neither can live while the other survives, right? It's not some Harry Potter prophecy type stuff. It's real life. And we need to do better in real life. And we need to hold ourselves to better standards in real life. And that's what Bucks has to say for this week.